Hey guys, welcome back to Magic TV. My name's Craig. It is 9 o'clock on a Monday, which means it's time for a 5x5. Now, this is where I take 5 subjects related to magic. I spend 5 minutes talking about each subject. I then move on to the next subject. It's always quick, it's always snappy, and you never know what you're going to get. Well, today, I want to talk to you about AI. Specifically, I want to talk to you about an opinion that AI has about magic. I'm going to be doing a few videos about AI over the next few weeks because I think it's something that magicians should actually be thinking about, and I'm going to try and do some videos about how you can actually use AI, both as a magician and a business owner. But I thought I'd do something a little bit fun, and I went on ChatGPT, and I said, hey, I run a YouTube channel for magicians, and I want to do a video on subjects that magicians massively disagree on. What would you say are the top 5 subjects that magicians massively disagree on? And it's come up with what it thinks are the 5 biggest things that magicians disagree on. So in this 5x5, I'm going to take each one of these points and tell you exactly what I think. So let's get into it. I'm going to be answering AI's questions on this week's 5x5. Okay, so in 5th place, we're going to go backwards. So in 5th place, the 5th most, the 5th subject that AI thinks magicians disagree on all the time is gatekeeping in magic. And it says, are older generations of magicians too protective of the art, making it difficult for newcomers to innovate or enter the field? This ties into discussions about who deserves to be a magician. It's kind of interesting subject, right? Gatekeeping in magic. Are older generations of magicians too protective of the art? I'm going to be honest with you. This is an easy one for me to answer. I'm going to say absolutely 100% yes. The amount of times that I see on Facebook, the amount of times that I see on Magic Cafe and various other discussion groups, I'll see people, older magicians that have been into magic for a while, and they'll be talking down to young magicians. I see it all the time. I see it with Ryland. Frequently, Ryland's a member of the Magicians Only group on Facebook, and when he's got a video that he's been kind of rehearsing something, he'll put it up on Facebook in this Magicians Only group to get opinions on what people think of what he's doing. And you know what? What's really weird, he gets a lot of positive comments, and he'll get a lot of people giving him really constructive criticism, which is great as well. You know, he's actually improved his dancing cane routine because he put some rehearsal footage of a dancing cane routine up there a while ago, and a couple of people gave him some really great advice, which is brilliant. But then there's a lot of older magicians, and I checked, and they are older. Looked at their Facebook profile and stuff, and they're like, oh, I wouldn't do the dancing cane if I were you. The dancing cane is terrible. The dancing cane is rubbish. And, oh, you know, you shouldn't be doing this. At your age, you should be doing this. And this isn't something that, you know, you get that all the time. And that's just one example, but you see it a lot. It's normally the older generation that will lock the doors shut and not allow anyone in. You know, they're the same people that will say there should be no videos on YouTube at all. No tutorials. Tutorial videos should not be made on YouTube. That is a no-go. Nobody should be allowed to learn magic from YouTube. My question is, if we're locking the doors shut, if you can't access any information on YouTube, if you can't allow people entry into magic, then how did they get in? But magic's basically just going to die out. How are people going to learn how to do magic? Oh, well, you should go and spend money and buy a trick. Why? Why should a desire to learn magic be based on financial, the ability to pay money for a magic trick? That shouldn't be it. There shouldn't be a price tag on becoming a magician. Anyone should be able to get into magic. Should the doors be shut? Yes. But they should definitely be able to be opened if somebody wants to go in. And I've talked about this on YouTube before. I think that if somebody goes on YouTube and spends half an hour looking at a tutorial video, and then half an hour looking at another tutorial video, and half an hour looking at another tutorial video, and they sit there with their cards in their hand and they practice, that's absolutely fine. That's not a problem. They've invested time, which in this day and age is massive. It's a massive thing to invest. The amount of people that doom scroll on Facebook and on TikTok and on various different reels, just not really taking in that information, just watching video after video after video. If someone actually spends time learning a move, they're a magician. They can be allowed access into magic. I absolutely think that. And I think that sometimes the older generation they do gatekeep too much. I think they would like to push people out of Magic that maybe deserve to be in there just because their entry point into Magic doesn't mesh with their own values and their own ideals. Now, it's not just older people in Magic. It can be, you know, there's others as well that have the same attitude. But I do think that there's too many gatekeepers in Magic. I agree with that, 100%. So, yeah, in fifth place, gatekeeping in Magic. And I would say, yes, there is a lot of gatekeeping in Magic. And really, as we move forward, I think that should disappear. Okay, in fourth place, you know, I was surprised to see this on the list, but this is what ChatGPT thinks. In fourth place, it's the overuse of card tricks. Is Magic too focused on card tricks at the expense of other forms of Magic? Some argue that this creates monotony and limits the diversity of performance, while others defend cards as a core element of the art. So the question is there an overuse of card tricks in Magic? And again, honestly, I think the answer is yes. Here's what's interesting. Look, first of all, I love card tricks. I know about 15,000 of them. There's not a gig I don't go to where some sort of card trick is done at some point or another. I'm not going to be that guy that says, never do card tricks. Card tricks are boring. However, what I will say is I do think that there are too many card tricks done. I think that, look, in every single aspect of Magic, you can have people who are experts in that particular genre. Paul Gordon is a perfect example of somebody who does a lot of card work. Same with Darwin Ortiz when he was alive. In coins, you've got somebody like David Roth. You've got Michael Rubenstein. You've got you know, lots of people like that. There's different genres have experts, but generally, as a rule, I think most magicians should strive for diversity. I think I really do believe that, and I think that it's very easy to learn a card trick. The reason you don't see a lot of newer people in Magic doing coin sleight of hand and stuff like that, I think there's a couple of reasons. I think the first reason is you can learn a card trick and be able to do it immediately, right? So when you become a magician, you're new into Magic, and you want to learn a card trick, you can learn that card trick. You can do it immediately. It's a very low barrier to entry. With coin Magic, that's not the case. You know, normally it's more expensive. You have to buy gimmick coins or whatever. And then even to do a simple trick, normally you have to be able to conceal a coin in your hand. You have to be able to maybe do a switch or something like that. Even if you do like a cigarette through coin in the old days, you'd have to switch the gimmick in, switch it out afterwards. And then you've got Magician's Guilt. Why do magicians not do palming? Why are magicians scared of palming cards? It's because it's scary holding something in your hand, right? It's a Magician's Guilt thing. A lot of people don't like palming cards. With coin Magic, you have no choice. 99% of the tricks that you do with coin Magic involve hiding something in your hand. So people gravitate towards card Magic more, and I think it's the easiest option. I think that a lot of creators create card Magic because there's so many different sources of inspiration they can draw from. There's so many different principles. There's so many different techniques. There's so many different gimmicks that allow you to very easily create card tricks. So honestly, I really do believe that somebody who's been in Magic for a year could sit down with a pack of cards and probably create their own card trick if they gave themselves a few hours. Absolutely, 100%. The problem is, I think less people know what playing cards are than ever before. You know, the amount of gigs that I go to, it was last night. Last night I was doing a gig in, where was I? I did 2 gigs yesterday. First one was Birmingham and then somewhere else. I don't even know. Somewhere in Corby in Northamptonshire. And it was a property event. And I went up to a group of people, a young sort of 20, 25 property investors or people like that. And I said, hey, do me a favour. I've got a pack of cards here. Name a card. Any card that you want to. And she went, oh, I don't really know cards. So I said to the other person, can you name a card for me? And they're like, oh, I don't really know cards. And that's becoming more and more kind of a thing. Less people know cards than ever before. It's why I love coming up with decks of cards that aren't decks, like the Heroes and Villains deck I have over there, like Mind Blocks, like the Infinity deck, like Focus that's coming out soon. I love decks of cards like that. And the reason I love decks of cards like that is it allows me to use everything that I've learned with packs of cards, but present it in a way that's not playing cards. So Focus, that's coming out at the end of this week, Focus is all about movies. Everyone can relate to a movie. If you have somebody pick a card, here's the thing, when I do Focus and it's all about various different movies, I'll have somebody and I'll say, pick a movie, any movie, and they'll pick a movie and I'll say, do you like that one? Are you happy with that one? And they'll go, no, I don't like that one. Let me take a different one. You don't get that with playing cards. You don't have someone picking a card and go, oh, 7 of diamonds, I don't like that, can I put it back? It's because people can relate to films more. Same with heroes and villains. People can relate to characters more. It's why I love decks of cards like that, because it's more relatable, right? It's not to say that card magic isn't fun. Like I say, I love doing card magic, and people find card magic impressive. But I do think that people shoehorn themselves into card magic, and they just do card magic and they do nothing else. And I've said on this channel for years, if a card magician learns how to do coin magic, they would become a better card magician, because there are things that you learn as a coin magician that you will not learn as a card magician. And if you learn coin magic, there's certain things that you will learn that you can then transition over into card magic, and that will allow you to become a better card magician. So yes, 100%. I do think that that there's an overuse of card tricks. I think that there's a place for card tricks, and I think that we'll continue to use cards as long as cards exist. I do think, however, that it's the easiest option. I think that a lot of people go down the route of playing cards because it's the easiest option, and they don't want to kind of push themselves out of their comfort zone. At least that's my opinion. Okay, so in third place, we have the role of magic dealers and pricing. ChatGPT seems to think that this is the third biggest subject that magicians can't agree with. The role of magic dealers in pricing. And AI says, are magic tricks and gimmicks overpriced? Some magicians feel that magic shops exploit the community, while others argue that high costs are justified to protect secrets and compensate creators. What's my opinion on this one? Well, the role of magic dealers and pricing. Look, here's the thing. Magic dealers are always going to be there. A big thing about being a magician is learning new tricks, buying new tricks. It's what's really exciting. You see a lot of the time on beginners sort of magician groups on Facebook, you'll see people saying, oh, I've just bought this trick, I've just bought this trick, I've just bought this trick. It's like with any hobby. When you get into any hobby, you want to do everything. The last 3 or 4 years, Ryan's really got into basketball. And he's like, right, I want to get that basketball top. I want to get that basketball. Why? You've already got 15 basketballs. Why do you need another one? What does that add that the other 14 don't do? When you get into any hobby, you want to spend money on that hobby. You get obsessed with it. And I think the thing with magic is the light burns really bright, and sometimes it burns so bright that it burns itself out. What I mean by that is a lot of the time when people get into magic, they get super excited about learning magic. They get super excited about learning every aspect of magic. A lot of people, when they first get into magic, it almost becomes an obsession. Become obsessed with every aspect of magic. And I see a lot of people that will get into magic after 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years, they'll just leave. They'll just kind of leave magic. Oh yeah, it was my hobby for a while. You meet those people at gigs, don't you, where you kind of go, hey, my name's Craig, I'm the magician, do you want to see a trick? And the guy will go, oh, I used to do magic a few years ago, and he remembers the double flip and stuff like that. You get that. People come into magic, they get really obsessed with it, they spend lots of money, and then they leave. And the thing with magic dealers is that's an exciting part of being in magic. An exciting part of being in magic is buying stuff, right? So the question is, do magic dealers charge too much? And I think really it's down to the individual magic shop. I think it's down to the individual magic producer. They can set the price for their magic, whatever they want. And we vote with our pockets. We vote with our wallets, whether we want to buy it or not. We've all seen a trick that's like really, really expensive. And you kind of go, well, that's really expensive. It's out of my budget. But then we've seen other tricks, like Destiny Deal was only $15, right? It's one of my best-selling tricks this year. So I think third best-selling trick, maybe fourth. It's done really, really well. And I think part of the reason is it's really, really cheap. Now, if I priced Destiny Deal at £50, would people have bought it? Probably not. But at the price, it made sense, right? And I think that's the same with everything. You, as a magic producer, you have to really think about what price you're putting a trick out there. And I think, but a lot of people that aren't really in the magic industry, that don't understand this side of things, I don't think you realize just how expensive the costs can be. You add one thing into a product and you times that by a couple of thousand, it can rocket the prices up astronomically. And all of that money needs to get paid out beforehand, before you even see any profit coming back into the company. So it's a scary thing to do. You have to spend thousands of pounds and thousands of pounds. So I've got a trick coming out at some point in the future, and it's based on somebody else's trick, and I personally bought the rights to that trick off this other person, and it's cost me a fair amount of money, right? I'm not going to see any comeback from that money. That's an investment that I've made. I'm not going to see an investment comeback on that for a very, very long time, probably a year, if not longer. But I've decided to make the investment, right? That's what I've done. And I think that, looking at here, role of magic dealers and pricing, I think that we can charge whatever we want to. A magic producer, a magic creator, a magic shop, they can charge whatever they want to. But it's up to you to decide whether you want to buy it or not. There's certain tricks that I've bought that I know people would consider to be very, very expensive. But for me, it's worth it. I've got a split press. It's the closer of one of my illusion shows. It cost me like £4,000. It's very expensive. Not everyone's going to buy that. It was worth every single penny for me. Every single penny and then some. I would buy it again in a heartbeat. It very much depends. Yeah, so do I think that magic dealers, what's the thing that it says? Do I think that magic dealers are putting high costs on to protect secrets and compensate creators? No, I don't think so. I think sometimes there's elements of that. But, you're never going to make a fortune in magic as a creator. You're just not. I do think, however, that magic companies can charge whatever they want to. I want to know what you think. Okay, the second thing that AI thinks is a topic that magicians can't agree on, which is quite ironic, really, considering AI, is the role of technology and magic. Is using advanced technology, for example, apps, AI, or gimmicks, in performance undermining traditional sleight of hand skills? Purists and innovators often clash over this subject. Look, here's the thing. I think the answer is yes and no. And a lot of these subjects that ChatGPT are putting across, they're subjective, in all honesty. One person has one opinion, one person has the other opinion, which I suppose is why it's on the list. But when it comes to the role of technology and magic, I'd say yes and no. I personally think that a lot of stuff that magicians use all of the time, I think that you're not going to see that being used in 5 years. So, for example, Matt, he's in the other room currently. Matt uses an electronic dice an awful lot. As you know, he uses electronic dice with a thumper in his pocket, the Amverdi die. I think it's great. I see him getting rave reactions from it. I've also seen adverts all over the internet for Go Dice, which is basically the same thing. You can roll a dice and it's going to keep track of everything that you've rolled and update it on an app for you. Now, surely at some point, if Matt's doing that, or anybody that uses an electronic dice is doing that, is somebody going to say, well, I've got a dice that does something similar to that? I don't know. I think that could happen. I've spoken to John Archer. John Archer used an electronic dice in his act all the time, and he took it out. And the reason he took it out is because people were saying, could you do that with my dice? Or, oh, it's a special dice. You don't want people to think that the prop is special. And if, when the concept of an Anverdi die came out, or the Pro Mystic die, whatever you want to say, when the concept of that came out, there was nothing else like it. Now there is. And in 5 years' time, I think they're going to be commonplace. I think you're going to see a lot of games coming out with electronic dice, keeping track of scores. And I think at that point, we might have a bit of a trouble. And I think the same with, a lot of people use pads, and you write things down on it, and it captures the information and puts it onto a screen or onto a watch or whatever. I'm seeing these happening all the time. There's more and more of these being made available to lay people, to muggles, to the general public than ever before. Now, they're weird-ass pens. They're not normal pens, but they look, they do basically what a magic prop does. It does basically the same thing. At some point, is someone going to think, well, hang on a minute, this could be done in a particular way? Very possibly. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But I think it's not a creative leap for the right audience to think, well, hang on a minute, not too sure about that, right? So yes, I do think that there's certain props. I think we need to evolve. I think we need to improve, and I think we need to keep moving forwards. But I do think that some of the stuff that's been around for a while might become obsolete at some point in the future. Apps, on the other hand, look, I don't want to overuse apps. I don't do as much app magic as people like David Penn, for example, but I do use apps on my phone quite a lot. Digital Force Bag, Toxic Plus. They're two apps that I use an awful lot. There's others that I use an awful lot. There's a lot of apps that I use that I really like. But I probably, if I use it at a gig, I'm going to use it like 4 or 5 times. I'm using it sparingly. It's not there to replicate or replace sleight of hand. It's not that I'm going to turn up to a gig and go, right, okay, all I need to use now is my apps. That's it. I don't need to use anything else. That's not the case. However, I think throwing something in with a phone along with something else, I think that's fair game, especially when it's a very clever use of the phone. What I mean by that is, there's certain tricks where you're going to pull something out of the phone, and that's all well and good, and that's not a problem. That's great. But I think people realize at that point there's something special with the phone. But if you have something where you're connecting to their phone and it's happening on their phone without them realizing, kind of like wiki test, inject, screen test, things like that, I think that's when it becomes like next level, because now it's not even your phone, and the thing that's happening is well away from the phone, if that kind of makes sense. Like, I think that's the best use for this sort of thing. And I think it would be stupid not to include phones in your magic. Why are there so many tricks with handkerchiefs? Because when magic was 100 years ago, 150 years ago, people carried around pocket squares with them all the time. So it made sense to do magic with handkerchiefs because you could borrow a handkerchief. I remember reading magic books when I was a kid, and the torn and restored handkerchief, or the borrowed, burned handkerchief, was a thing that was done all of the time. You wouldn't do that now. If you went up to somebody and said, "Can I borrow a handkerchief?" they'd be like, "No, you're weird." But everyone carries a phone around with them. And again, it's about magic evolving. Because everyone carries a phone around with them, if you can structure something that involves their phone, why not? So yeah, I think that technology and magic is important, but I think it needs to be used sparingly. I think it can be overused. I do see people that overuse it, but used the right way, I don't think it's a problem. But I do think that we need to evolve, because at some point things are going to, get found out. Okay, so the final thing that ChatGPT said was the biggest subject that magicians can't agree on is exposing magic secrets. Should magicians reveal tricks to educate or entertain non-magicians? This topic sparks heated debates about preserving the mystery of magic versus promoting accessibility and education. And I know exactly what they're talking about. I saw a lot of members of the Magic Circle getting their knickers in a knot over Penn and Teller recently going on a TV programme in the UK and doing their clear cups and balls routine. If you've not seen the Penn and Teller clear cups and balls routine, the idea is that they basically do cups and balls and then they expose it. They just openly expose it. The thing is, the way they expose it, it's almost as magical as when you see it done properly the first time. I don't think that's a problem, personally. I see a lot of magicians that get annoyed about that, but I don't think that's a problem. And Penn and Teller have been doing that for years. I remember seeing their thing that used to be their signature piece, and don't think Teller can do this anymore. The one where it's an illusion and he does the illusion and the head comes off and the feet are over there, a trap door. And then the thing comes down and you see that Teller's sliding around all over the place under the stage, and that's how it works. Is he giving away? Are they giving away a secret there? Yes. Nobody's going to do a trick like that where you're sliding around all over the place. Could you argue that it's giving away like deceptive steps and deceptive traps and things like that, and deceptive bases? Possibly, but I don't think anybody's thinking that way. I don't think I would do the crystal casket after somebody seeing Penn and Teller doing that, and I don't think they put two and two together. But I might be wrong. That's the thing about magic. It's subjective. I see a lot of, where is the line? That's the question. Where is the line? Sometimes I remember doing many years ago at a magic, it was like a club night, but I was booked as the act. It was like years ago. And I remember doing Silk to Egg. And afterwards, I had a magician come up to me really angrily and said, "I can't believe you exposed the hollow egg." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, you exposed the hollow egg in Silk to Egg." And this guy was genuinely pissed off. And the reason he was pissed off is because in his act, he has a hollow egg and he puts a handkerchief in and turns it into an egg. Then he puts the egg away. Well, actually, he went to get an egg bag, switched this egg for a blown egg, and then goes into an egg bag routine. He doesn't do the whole traditional silk to egg routine where you actually end up with a real egg. I've done the traditional silk to egg routine, that, as you know, with the traditional silk to egg routine, you're exposing the fact that there is such thing as a hollow egg or a magician's egg. And then during the context of the routine, the kicker is you show it's actually a real egg. But he was annoyed. He was really annoyed with me that I'd exposed the hollow egg, a trick that he uses in his act all of the time. Now, the thing is, I think that most magicians would not be annoyed with me doing silk to egg, because everybody knows that it's a setup for, and it's a great trick. Jasper Cherry did it on Britain's Got Talent and got all the way to the finals because of doing that in his audition. It's a killer trick. It really is.
And that's the point. The point is that it's subjective. There's one guy here that was annoyed that I exposed a hollow egg, while most of the magicians would look at that and go, yeah, Craig's doing something to egg, and wouldn't have a problem with it at all. So it's different strokes for different folks. It's subjective, and that's the point. And the question is, where's the line? Well, the answer is the line is in a different place for everybody. The line might be here for this guy, but it might be further along for somebody else. Like you might go, I've in the past exposed key cards in a way. So I've kind of done a trick, found the card, and then I've explained about key cards, which was just a setup for the entire deck turning blank a little bit later on. But I still exposed how a key card was done. Is that bad? Is that not bad? I don't know. Like you look at Tom Crosby's cube routine, and by the way, I think Tom Crosby is amazing. He's my favourite magician in the whole world, even though he's not a magician. He's brilliant. You watch him do his cube act, and he does he explains that when he's holding a Rubik's Cube, he looks at it and it's about 8 moves away from being solved. And as he does this, that's 4 moves away from being solved or whatever. And as you throw it up in the air, he's going to take 3 moves out. As he catches it, he's going to take the other 2 moves out. And if you do it right, it looks like it's magic. But in reality, he's kind of explaining how the trick works. Now, not really, but in a way, he's kind of explaining how the trick works, that you can take moves out very quickly without people realizing it. But in the context of his act, I mean, he's one of the top acts in the world at this point, as far as I'm concerned. So, and I don't think anybody would go, well, that's exposure. But that's because, but I know somebody would. So where's the line? Where do we draw the line, right? And the answer is, I don't know. I don't know when's too far. I know when's too far if I see it. And the stuff that Justin Flom, I've talked about this, has done online, and I've thought, well, that's too far. But he's not done that on stage. He's not done that as part of his show that I'm aware of. So when is too far too far? And the answer is, I'm not really 100% too sure. The question was, should we reveal secrets to educate or entertain non-magicians? Again, it very much depends. I run a kids' entertainment company. We do a workshop package where we teach kids how to do very simple magic tricks. Should I not do that? Where's the line? Because I know that there's kids that have gone to workshops that have then become magicians because of going to those workshops. I know that I've gone and taught magic to kids in school on a weekly basis. We're talking way back now, but every week I'd go in and teach magic to kids in school, and it's helped improve their self-esteem. It's helped improve their confidence, their public speaking. Hell, I don't think Ryan would be as confident as he is if I hadn't taught him magic. So, but that's teaching somebody who is in essence a muggle and teaching them how to do magic. Is that not okay? So where's the line? Where do we draw the line? I think out of all of the topics, this is the most contentious. I think this is the one that I think would create the most arguments. So let me know down below. What do you think? Exposing secrets for education and entertainment. Is it okay? Is it not okay? And I'm talking about in a live show here. I'm not talking about in social media. I'm talking in a live show. Let me know what you think down below. So there you go, guys. That's another 5x5 in the bag. Hope you thought this was interesting. I thought this would be a really kind of interesting approach to a 5x5. And I am going to be doing more on AI in the future. And I want to know a couple of things. One, what do you think of those 5 topics? Would you agree that those are the 5 topics that magicians argue about the most? Or would you disagree? What other topics would you think of? Also, what's your opinion on those? Would you agree with what I said, or would you disagree? Finally, what's your opinion on AI, not only in magic, but also as a business owner? I'm going to be doing some more videos about AI in the future, and I'd love to know your opinion. Thanks very much for watching. I will see you again soon. I'm back again tomorrow with magic news. Thanks very much for watching. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, join the Netrix, www.thenetrix.com. It's my online streaming platform for magicians. I'll see you again soon. My name's Craig from Magic TV.